I'm Mark Broom. Let's start by taking a look at the day's headlines. The North Korean leader in South Korea in the fall. It might not be so fanciful after all, as President Moon Jae-in says he would consider inviting Kim Jong-un to Busan for an ASEAN forum in November. As Japan approves the export of a chip-making material to South Korea for the first time since imposing its export curbs, the New York Times says it will take more than restrictions and boycotts to drive a permanent wedge between the neighbors. Plus, a sequel to a trial that was initially labeled South Korea's trial of the century. The Supreme Court hands down a ruling that could lead to Samsung's de facto leader, Jae-yong, being sent back to prison. So let's start with that rather enticing offer from President Moon Jae-in. He says it would be meaningful if North Korean leader Kim Jong-un joined a multilateral summit that will be hosted by South Korea in November. The South Korean leader also relayed a message to Japan, saying the flare-up in tensions between Seoul and Tokyo should be dealt with diplomatically. Our Shin Se-min starts us off.
South Korea's presidential office has expressed its openness to possibly inviting North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to the Korea-ASEAN special summit that will be held in South Korea's southeastern port city of Busan in November. In a written interview with the Bangkok Post ahead of his week-long trip to 3 Southeast Asian nations from Sunday, President Moon said Kim's attendance would be very meaningful for peace on the Korean Peninsula and in East Asia. But he added that any decision on the matter would depend on progress made in the Korean peace process and the nuclear talks between North Korea and the U.S. What matters most, he said, is for the regime to actually put denuclearization into concrete action. He suggested ASEAN play a key role in urging North Korea to abandon its nuclear weapons program and to stand together through economic cooperation. That idea of inviting Kim Jong-un to South Korea was first raised last year by Indonesian President Joko Widodo and was quickly endorsed by a number of regional leaders.
북한이 비핵화 조치를 진정성 있게 실천해 나갈 경우 아세안이 운영 중인 여러 회의체에 북한을 참여시키고 북한과의 양자교류 협력이 강화되길 바랍니다.
Touching on the sudden uptick in Seoul-Tokyo tensions, President Moon said he's ready to embrace and cooperate with Japan should it decide to return to the negotiating table. He highlighted how Japan's trade measures not only damage South Korea, but the global economy as a whole. He said ASEAN members should do what they can to steer Japan to the path of dialogue and diplomatic consultation. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Now, North Korea's rubberstamp parliament, the Supreme People's Assembly, held its second meeting of the year on Thursday. The North announced that the Assembly is changing the constitution to further strengthen Kim Jong-un's legal power. There was, however, no message on the regime's stalled denuclearization talks with the United States. Oh Jung-hee has this report.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is further cementing his already hefty grip on power. On Thursday, Pyongyang state-run Korean Central Television revealed the results of the North's rubber-stamp parliament meeting held earlier in the day. It said the Supreme People's Assembly modified parts of constitution to strengthen the authority of Kim Jong-un and the State Affairs Commission, the North Korean government's top decision-making body, which is headed by Kim. 3 major changes were made. First, the chairman of the State Affairs Commission, who is Kim Jong-un, does not double as a member of the parliament. Second, Kim proclaims the Assembly's various legislation and makes the key decisions at the State Affairs Commission. Lastly, Kim can appoint or dismiss North Korea's diplomatic envoys to other countries.
Therefore, the chairman of the State Affairs Commission, who represents our country, now has a stronger legal status, and his leadership is firmly guaranteed.
Kim Jong-un is now considered completely separate from the assembly as the regime's leader only. Plus, Kim now designates overseas envoys, which in the past was done by the chairman of the Presidium of the Supreme People's Assembly. This means even greater power in Kim's hands, adding to his status as the ceremonial leader of the state that was granted at the North's previous parliamentary session in April. Because the meeting took place amid no signs of working-level negotiations between Pyongyang and Washington, there was speculation Kim Jong-un could give a speech to clarify his stance on talks with the U.S. like he did in April. However, that did not happen as Kim didn't appear at Thursday's session. The regime's 5-year economic development plan, which is due in 2020, doesn't seem to have been covered either. 오정희, Arirang News.
Now, for the first time since implementing trade curbs on 3 high-tech materials used in the production of chips and semiconductors, Japan has approved hydrogen fluoride exports to South Korea. But Seoul insists this does not indicate a dramatic change of heart on Tokyo's part. Our Oh Soo-young has the details.
According to Seoul's Trade Ministry Thursday, Japan has given the green light for the first batch of hydrogen fluoride exports to South Korea since it introduced tougher trade control measures on 3 key tech materials for South Korean firms. The hydrogen fluoride was reportedly requested by Samsung Electronics, although the exact amount was not confirmed. The substance is one of the 3 key materials used in the production of semiconductors and displays, which Japan targeted as part of its export curbs on South Korea. While Japan has since then approved the export of photoresist to South Korea on 2 occasions, this is the first time it has allowed a shipment of hydrogen fluoride since its trade measures took effect in July. The Abe administration insists the substance needs rigorous screening as it could be used as poisonous gas. As Japanese firms account for 70% of the world's hydrogen fluoride market, Tokyo's restrictions have raised concerns that they will slow down the production of South Korea's memory chips, which are used by major global tech firms including Apple, Dell and Sony. Japan's exports of hydrogen fluoride to South Korea plunged 84% on year in July, according to South Korean media. The South Korean government has been rolling out support measures for local companies in order to reduce the nation's dependence on imported substances and instead foster homegrown technology and essential materials. It said Thursday that Japan's approval of a hydrogen fluoride shipment does not indicate a change in Tokyo's basic stance of taking economic retaliation against South Korea over political issues. It says Seoul will continue to urge Tokyo to remove its trade curbs. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Despite the heightening tensions between Seoul and Tokyo over trade and historical issues, the New York Times reports that overall relations, especially in terms of business and trade, shall we say, will likely endure this rather testing period and come out the other end relatively unscathed. Lee Seung-jae has more.
South Korea-Japan relations are at their lowest point in recent memory, following Tokyo's move to formally remove Seoul from its whitelist of trusted trading partners. Despite South Koreans boycotting Japanese goods en masse and switching up their travel plans to avoid Japan, when it comes to bilateral business ties, they would be a lot more difficult to break. This is the view of the New York Times on Wednesday, U.S. time. According to its report, trade volume between the 2 neighbors currently amounts to about $85 billion a year. It added that Japan, in particular, holds considerable sway as the main supplier of essential raw materials and components that South Korea needs in its high-tech economic machine. The report quoted Rory Green, an economist who specializes in South Korea and China at the London-based analyst T.S. Lombard, as saying any serious attempt to shatter trade ties would be a disaster, adding that until South Korea is able to produce its own materials, a process that could take many years, the 2 countries have little choice but to stick together. The report went on to use South Korean firm Haejin Tech as an example. It builds intricate machines with over 1,300 parts for packaging foods like soup and kimchi. While many of its components are made domestically, Some can only be sourced from Japan. However, it noted the sudden upswing in trade tensions between Seoul and Tokyo has left many small businesses in South Korea unprepared. Many experts seem to agree that while the trade conflict has left the two countries deeply at odds, the two are bound to each other whether they like it or not, and need to find a way to resolve their current issues. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Now we have some news just coming in. The Bank of Korea has kept its benchmark interest rate unchanged at 1.5% for August. The central bank has opted to freeze the rate after cutting it by 0.25 percentage point just last month. We will have more details on the rate freeze during our next newscast at noon Korea time. Now, it could very well be time to lawyer up yet again. South Korea's Supreme Court has delivered its final verdict on the corruption scandal that led to the impeachment and imprisonment of former President Park Geun-hye. On Thursday, the top court in the land sent back the cases to a lower court for a retrial. Now, it's widely believed that Park and Samsung heir Jae-yong will face heavier sentences as the Supreme Court ruled a larger sum of Lee's donations constituted bribes for his own political gain. Jae-yong reports.
The Supreme Court has found Samsung Vice Chairman Lee Jae-yong guilty of 2 counts of bribery for the 3 horses and $1.3 million he gave to former President Park Geun-hye's confidant Choi Soon-sil. He will sit for a retrial at the appeals court.
The appeals court's decision that ruled Lee Jae-yong and his close Samsung aides not guilty of bribery charges has been overturned and sent back to the Seoul High Court.
The Supreme Court also asked the appeals court to review Park's prison sentence again because she was given a combined sentence for bribery and corruption, while the law requires separate sentences for public officials convicted of bribe-taking. That means Park will likely get another prison sentence at the appeals court. For Park's confidant Choi Soon-sil, the court says the charge that she extorted money from local companies is not clearly proven, and it asked the lower court to review those charges again. At retrial, she's likely to get her prison sentence reduced. While all of those involved in the corruption scandal will go through a retrial at the appeals courts, all eyes are on Lee Jae-yong as he is likely to face a prison sentence this time. And watchers speculate this may push South Korea's largest tech giant into an extended period of difficulties amid the simmering trade tensions between South Korea and Japan. Jae-yong, Arirang News.
So, as we just heard there, South Korea's highest court has overturned part of an appeals court ruling in the bribery case involving Samsung Electronics Vice Chairman Lee Jae-yong, who had been given a 2.5-year suspended sentence. So, Kim Hye-sung has more about what this means for Samsung, which is Korea's biggest corporate giant, and how the world's biggest smartphone maker plans to navigate its way through what could be some choppy waters.
The order by South Korea's Supreme Court that Samsung Electronics Vice Chairman Lee Jae-yong be retried for bribery has revived uncertainties at the country's biggest company. Lee Jae-yong again faces the possibility of prison time, having previously served a year after his arrest in February 2017. He was released in 2018 on appeal after the Seoul High Court halved his 5-year sentence and suspended it for 4 years. Following the Supreme Court's ruling, Samsung Electronics released an official statement saying that it deeply regrets that this case has created concerns across society and that it'll renew its commitment to carrying out the role of a responsible company and not repeat past mistakes. In its first statement on the case, Samsung Electronics added that it has faced difficulties from external and internal uncertainties and has been constrained in preparing for future businesses. It asked for public support to overcome the challenges and continue to contribute to the local economy. Samsung has been affected by global trade turmoil, including the U.S.-China trade war and Japan's trade restrictions on key parts and materials to Korea. It also faces falling profits from a memory chip downturn and sluggish demand for smartphones. with its affiliate Samsung Biologics under investigation for accounting fraud. Thursday's ruling cast doubt on Samsung Group's governance restructuring. It could also delay major business decision-making processes, including future investment in industries like AI and the Internet of Things. Samsung Electronics has not made any high-profile mergers or acquisitions since 2017. Kim Hae-sung, Arirang News.
Now let's shift gears to a global cultural festival, which is going to be taking place this weekend at Seoul Plaza with over 70 countries taking part. Seoul Friendship Festival has been held each and every year since 1996, and visitors can enjoy food and cultural performances from around the world. The festival will start with a parade by 16 dance performance teams dressed in their country's various traditional clothing. As you can see, visitors can also watch dance performances from 5 continents and try international food at booths along Cheonggyecheon Stream. Now, Chinese state TV has showed what it asserts was a routine rotation of troops and military equipment into a garrison in Hong Kong. Naturally, this development is raising concerns in the territory that has been rocked by pro-democracy protests for weeks now and is due to hold another big rally on Saturday. For more on this and other news from around the world, let's turn to our Kim Dami. So Dami, tell us more about this rather concerning situation.
Right, Mark. Troops from mainland China moved into Hong Kong on Thursday for what they call a routine rotation. According to China's Xinhua news agency, armored carriers, trucks, and a patrol boat across the border from Shenzhen to Hong Kong for the 22nd rotation of the People's Liberation Army's Hong Kong garrison. The Hong Kong garrison highlighted that it was just another annual practice. It added that troops stationed in Macau also completed a rotation on Thursday. The soldiers in the new rotation were reportedly educated on Hong Kong's laws and vowed to defend the nation's sovereignty. The longest protest in Hong Kong's history has sparked concerns that Beijing may use its military from the mainland to crack down on protesters. Meanwhile, Hong Kong police have banned a mass protest rally planned on Saturday over public safety concerns, but the protesters have vowed to demonstrate anyway. U.S. President Donald Trump says troop levels in Afghanistan will be cut from 14,000 to 8,600 for now, but American forces will remain in the country even if Washington reaches a peace deal with the Taliban. In an interview with Fox News Radio on Thursday, Trump admitted the U.S. will always have a presence in Afghanistan, but he noted he'll make further decisions on troop levels at a later date. Trump also warned that in case of any Taliban attack, the U.S. will come back with a force like they have never seen before. Reversing its previously long-held stance on iPhone repairs, Apple will start supplying parts to independent shops for the first time. CNBC reports Apple will offer independent repair shops access to parts, tools, and guides for common out-of-warranty repairs. Apple later said, when a repair is needed, customers should have confidence the repair will be done right and is handled by a trained technician. The iPhone maker says the new program is free to join, but shops must employ an Apple-certified technician. Apple will launch the program in the U.S. first before rolling it out to more countries.
Now it is time for our Life and Info segment, where we take a look at useful information for your daily life. And today we're going to talk about popular online shopping trends. For more on that, we have our Yoon Jong-min in the studio. I'm delighted to say morning to you, Jong-min. Now, we all know that internet shopping is huge around the world, but just how popular is e-commerce here in South Korea?
Good morning, Mark. So many people in South Korea really enjoy online shopping, including mobile shopping.
Yeah.
So people just buy goods with their computers or smartphones. And I've heard from some citizens why they use e-commerce. Well, let's take a listen first.
I usually search for cosmetics and clothes with my phone. Shopping with mobile phones is convenient because I can compare prices straight away.
I can buy clothes and other things easily with my phone. I don't have to go around lots of stores and the goods are delivered right to my door.
According to Statistics Korea, online transactions in the second quarter of this year amounted to some $27 billion. That's up 18% from the previous year. And mobile shopping made up nearly 64% of all online transactions. The data shows that many people bought food and home appliances from April to June. Fashion items and cosmetics were also popular. These days, there are daybreak delivery services in Korea. If you buy fresh food through the internet, suppliers deliver the products early the next morning.
Yeah, I have first-hand experience of this myself. It seems like every day there's at least one or two packages outside our door due to internet shopping. But what's really the driving force behind this online shopping boom in South Korea?
Well, experts say it's because South Korea has strong internet and mobile services. So as we all know, the internet is very fast here, and you can access free Wi-Fi in cafes, on public transport, well, that's almost anywhere. And here's what the expert thinks.
The total revenue for online shopping is expected to reach more than $110 billion this year. The market is growing 20% every year. That's because of higher smartphone usage, which is around 95%, and good internet infrastructure.
And not only that, the weather also affects people's shopping habits. It's often hot and humid in Korea during the summer monsoon season, and people prefer to stay indoors and order food and other goods using the internet or smartphones. As a number of people choose to stay home for their vacation, there is even a term, homekongs. People enjoying this homekongs seem to have bought more food and video games on the internet.
And Jungmin, I hear that more and more people in South Korea are purchasing items abroad and having them sent here as well.
Yeah, you're right. So the internet connects the world and goods are traded across borders. So according to this statistics agency, people in South Korea sold goods online worth more than $1 billion to overseas buyers in the second quarter. Also, people in Korea directly bought more than $730 million of products from overseas traders during the same period. Both saw double-digit increases from the previous year. Major traders were based in the US, the EU, China, and Japan, and various goods ranging from clothing to cosmetics were bought and sold.
Well, that was very useful information. I hear that many people actually run small businesses just by buying things online and then reselling them on to other people here in Korea. Jungmin, it was a pleasure. Thank you for coming in today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Good morning. We can definitely feel that the fall is right around the corner, and it was a breezy start to the morning. Daily highs will rise fast though, and especially for those of you in southern regions, you will notice a big jump in daytime highs this afternoon compared to yesterday. And it's shaping up to be a mostly sunny day with a chance for sporadic showers in upper inland regions. And that means southern coastal regions and Jeju will finally get a break from the rain. It's going to be a great day for an afternoon stroll. Daily highs will range from 27 to 30 degrees Celsius. Just remember to have an umbrella handy in upper inland regions. Early autumn weather is on tap for the weekend under clear blue skies. But southern regions in Jeju will see more rain starting Sunday, and it's forecast to rain pretty much all next week in those regions. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's pretty much all the news and weather we have for now. Stay tuned to Arirang TV, and our next newscast is coming up at noon Korea time. I'll be on vacation for the next couple of weeks. I need to go and recharge my batteries, and I'll see you again in mid-September, looking all fresh. Until then, goodbye and enjoy your weekend.